Episode 1 officially. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is KepherdY2K. Officially back again for episode 1 because our last episode was essentially kind of like a preview. I didn't really know what to do or what I was going to do or how to do this, but kind of just on the fly, about an hour from when I started recording, I decided I'm just gonna do this, and we're gonna see how it goes. Here we go. Kind of just threw on a little jacket on, and I didn't try to look this good. Again, you want to look professional. So I guess topic I kind of want to discuss today, because I was going over a little bit about how I wanted to do episode 1, what I wanted to talk about, what topics I wanted to talk about, some of the things that they don't teach you when you're going through elementary school, through high school, college, and etc. Couple of things that they don't really tell you, and when you probably realize it, it's a little too late. What the education system kind of is for those of you who are in school right now, because most of you going through school, and you're going through it, you're taking all your exams, you're studying, maybe you have some crush that you want to ask out to middle school prom. You guys are in it. You guys probably think that you guys are in the most intense portions of your lives because there's some things that you guys probably won't realize until it's kind of too late and you guys enter into the workforce, because the workforce and the education system all are kind of one and the same. Put you on the conveyor belt to, do I want to use the word slavery?
The trouble is our school system trains us to be employees. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay your taxes, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. That makes you poor.
Basically, at least, and I have to go back to at least when I was in school and I was going through middle school, high school, and what was I thinking about at that age? My focus was really kind of just doing the best in terms of grades, develop socially. I mean, when you're a teenager, you're really awkward and you don't know how to communicate and you don't know how to express yourself, but nobody really does. You're kind of everybody's all hormonal and shit. Grades were a big deal. Performance was a big deal. The higher your grades, the better college you can get into, and then the better college that you can get into, the better job you can get when you graduate, and you'll get a ton of money, and you'll get married, and you'll have kids, and then you die. At least a very short summary. I probably skipped a couple steps, but once it's kind of funny because at least if you go to college at least and you graduate from college, you enter the workforce, that's when you kind of realize that grades don't actually matter at all.
The biggest lie young people are told is that when you're 18, 19, 20, 16 and 17 is exam results define your future. I left school at 16 with no qualifications and no money, and hardly anyone believed in me, especially my teachers. My first job was making wooden trash cans for less than $2 an hour. I felt like a failure. In fact, to make things worse, my manager bullied me and gave me all the bad jobs. So I decided to quit and start my own business. It felt like a big risk, but I went for it. 35 years later, I run 2 multi-million-dollar businesses. I've grossed over $70 million and have the house of my dreams. But most importantly, I have the freedom to spend time with my family. I want you to know it doesn't matter where you are right now. Your past doesn't determine your future. All that matters is where you're going.
Education itself is actually very, very good. I think there's a lot of interesting things you can learn in classes and whatnot. History, science. There's a lot of interesting things. I'm not anti-school. I'm actually very pro education, but they really, really hammer compliance. At a really young level, right? Rules are very, very important in school, and timeliness is very, very important in school. The bell rings at 7:30 sharp, and if you come in at 7:31, you're late, and you can get written up, and you can get detention. Everything is really, really precise. That's kind of really to get you ready for the workplace, where you have to clock in at 9 a.m. or else they dock your pay. that's kind of what it's preparing you for, even though it's never actually explicitly said. It's kind of something you just realize that. And I feel like that's one of the things they don't tell you. And back to the compliance point, it's very, very important to kind of just do what the teacher says. And if you don't do what the teacher says, you get in trouble and you're earmarked a troubled student. And now you have that reputation in school of being like a bad kid who doesn't listen and you're a delinquent and whatnot. School is really good at kind of very much getting you to comply to authority.
In the school system, they don't want us to learn about money because they just want to pump out good employees that do what they're told. I mean, if you look at school, it's opposite of what it takes to be successful in real life. Don't make a mistake. Do as you're told. Take tests by yourself. Don't cooperate. Do it by yourself. Do it on your own. Oh, there's only one right answer. No, there's tons of answers to a problem. So you come out of school scared to death of making a mistake. You do everything on your own. You don't cooperate. There's no synergy. There's no brainstorming. And there's only one right answer. Everybody wants to get the right answer. There's no one right answer. So I think people come out of school paralyzed. I think the school system is criminal in that it kills a child's spirit of learning. You know, a child goes into school all excited about, yeah, I'm going to learn and it's going to be great. And then the teacher says, sit down and shut up. Don't talk. We don't care what you're interested in.
It's done so seamlessly. I guess the word would be seamlessly, because you don't realize it. You don't realize it. When I started working and I realized that nobody really cares about how you get a job done in the workforce. All that matters is if you get the job done. But in school, when you're in school, you have to do things like show your work on your tests. If you don't show your work, you lose points, which is really dumb. So many of these things were painted as such a bad thing, when really, in reality, it didn't matter.
Hey, Mr. Johnson, I got the answer right on question 3, but I didn't get all the points for it.
You didn't show your work.
Okay, but I gave you the right answer.
Showing your work is more important.
So, if I had gotten the wrong answer, but I showed you how I got it wrong, I would have gotten more points than if I just gave you the right answer?
That is correct.
Okay. Sir, excuse my profanity, but how the flying fart does that help me in the real world one day?
Excuse me?
Like if I'm building you a house, and I mean I royally wrecked that entire thing. I mean the doors are made out of cardboard, the house is made out of styrofoam covered in bubble wrap, and you gotta heat up your food using clippings of grass and a lighter you borrowed from your mom. But if I showed you my work and how I ruined it all, are you going to pay me?
Of course not. That's absurd.
Yeah, so take out your pretty little red pen there, and wait, better yet, I got one right here. And fix it now.
And it's like you wonder, you think back, it's like, well, if these things didn't matter, why did they emphasize them so hard? And the reality is it was just to make you like the perfect, compliant, obedient worker, slate dog worker. I edited out the part where I left the recording session to grab tea. Now I have to smoothly somehow return to what I was talking about, because I was talking about you're made a pariah in school if you don't follow the rules, and like you get labeled a bad kid and somebody who's going to be flipping the burgers for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay. There's always that like rap song or that really successful person that always can reference when a teacher said they would never amount to everything. I find that interesting that I don't want to say a lot, like I can give a number. There's always some successful person who remembers a teacher that said they would amount to anything.
I got in trouble once in school. I was in the class and I wasn't paying attention as usual. I gave my teacher a lip back, which my mom would tell me don't do that, but I did. I only did because she said something very rude to me. She goes, the reason why you're not going to amount to anything is because you don't try, and that's why you're going to be a failure. And I said, you think I'm not trying, I just don't try with things that are meaningless.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
she said, oh, so you think math is meaningless?
Yes.
We're in the third quarter of school. And I said, I failed the first test you gave me. And I know for a fact that if you give this test, the first quarter test, the first test we ever had, to the same kids that are in this classroom, they'd all fail this class. And so she goes, okay, tomorrow, guys, we're giving you guys that test to prove me wrong. Not one person in that class got a D. Everyone got an F. I didn't pay attention, and neither did they. They just crammed to please somebody above them, but they weren't using it as knowledge. And so I think the people that are successful in life are the ones they know what is meaningful to learn and what is junk to, like, I'm not running around like a pony for you. If I'm not passionate about it and I don't think it's good for me, there's no reason to be there, which highlights passion.
That maybe has to do with the fact that success and just being successful and doing really well in school, depending on the path you're going to take, they don't really go hand in hand. Now, obviously, because the exceptions are if the field that you're going to enter, like, everybody always says doctor, lawyer, engineer. I mean, those are kind of the professions that, like, you have to kind of be really good in school. You have to be, get really good grades and be really innovative to be able to find success in those fields. I think being good at school correlates to being a good in, a STEM major. I think that, that is like the exception, but I think everything else, I feel like it's just not a big deal. And this is coming from somebody who actually did very well in school. I was in AP classes. I was honors classes, which is why I feel like able to kind of speak on this a little bit. It's like I wasn't like the valedictorian or anything, but like I was a pretty good student because I was also in like some of the regular Regents-based classes as well. And before I was in the honors and AP courses, and there was a lot I could take from that. Class environments are so different, and I don't want to stray too much from the point, even though this all kind of coincides together. This all kind of coincides together, because now I'm kind of on the more like how school conditions you to think.
Welcome to the first step of the society trap. We have a new inductee, let's give them a clap. Sit down quietly and listen intently. Remember to put your hand up in elementary. Walk in a single line under the teacher's order. Discipline is essential, especially to defend the border. You are taught about Pythagoras and Shakespeare, but not your human rights. The essential knowledge is never given. We can't allow you to soar higher than kites. Finish school? Not so quick now. You need to get yourself a bachelor's degree. This, my friend, is the societal trap. We got your brain, don't forget the huge school fee. You got the piece of paper in a world that doesn't need it. Time to look for a job, I wonder if anyone's going to read it. Fresh out of school and you're thrown into another trap. This time it's serious 9 to 5, my homie. Straight work, not a single nap.
STEM majors aside, the people who like are really good at school and they usually, they end up with a job, a good job, a good job. They'll end up with a nice 9 to 5 job. And usually they'll be fine, but I realize that they make the best worker slave dog employees. They make the best employees. They don't question authority. They do as they're told. They're just really, really obedient. And they're very, very afraid to go outside the lines. Like it's like they have to do everything by the book, regardless of whether or not it's the most efficient way to do things. I realize that that's kind of what happens. Person in school who did really well and followed all the rules and never got in trouble. And that kind of was me. I feel like the only difference was because I kind of had a dual perspective, or at least I never really saw myself as a part of that crowd. But at the same time, I did care about getting good grades and whatnot. People don't realize how much school conditions you to just kind of be an obedient employee. And I guess I touched on this point without touching on it. I feel like the biggest thing that getting high grades and AP and honors classes, the biggest thing that kind of does is kind of give, it's kind of an ego thing for students. I feel like it's the equivalent to when somebody wins Employee of the Month. It doesn't really change much. It's like a nice little prize. It's like, throwing your employee a bone. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Oh, another thing I didn't touch on this point. Another thing, because I feel like everybody always like realizes this. Because there's always those mandatory courses that you always kind of sit in and you wonder, when am I going to use this when am I going to use this in real life? If you're not going to take some niche profession, like for example, let's say you're in your geometry class, and you're required to take that geometry class to graduate. to the next grade or whatever, or what have you. And you ask yourself, well, I know I'm not going to be a mathematician. I'm not going to be a math professor or a geometry professor or an architect. Why do I have to take this course? Where they never really kind of answer that question, like when am I going to use this? I feel like that question comes up a lot.
Think about any 14-year-old going to high school. What are some things you think a 14 to an 18-year-old in high school should be taught so they're ready for the real world? Is it chemistry? Is it biology? Is it physics? When's the last time you used those three things, unless if that's the industry you're part of?
But because this was impromptu. Thank you. Okay. Cool. Because, I feel like often people kind of complain that life skills aren't taught enough in school, and that's true. That's kind of done by design, so you kind of go into life very, very clueless. Because the more clueless you are, the more dependent you're going to be. You're going to be very dependent on the systems that are in place in society to be able to carry you along. If you want to learn how to do taxes, you can pay money to buy TurboTax. And perhaps that's not the best example, but you ever wonder why when there's a fight in school, if you fight back, right? Let's say one kid comes up on the other kid and he punches him in the face, right? And now there's a fight. The minute the the other kid fights back, they both get in trouble. Yeah, that's done on purpose as well. Because the idea is you're not supposed to fight back. You're supposed to wait for somebody else to come break up your ass whooping. Anybody ever find that interesting? You ever ask that question as to why that's done? Why do you get in trouble for defending yourself? Yeah, well, that's because, again, you're supposed to be dependent on the systems at play. You don't protect yourself, we'll come and help you. That's how life's supposed to be. Oh, I should talk about the pipeline to college debt. Because I went to college. College culture has become a thing. College going culture is a thing. You're a junior in high school, you take the SAT, and going and selecting colleges are such a big deal. And colleges are great. They were all free, and they're not. It is a lot of money to go to college. And if they were just like high school where you can just go for free, I would have no problem with college going culture. But college isn't free. College is a lot of money. And I feel like that doesn't get said enough because with college going culture, you're essentially telling somebody who's 16, 17 years old, they give you some scholarships. The average person probably gets some scholarships, but you're probably going to school. You're going to be paying some college. You're going to be paying some money for college, which you're usually going to have to take out loans for. So you're about like 16, 17, 18 years old, and you've selected your school that you're going to go to for. You probably don't know your major yet because you spent most of high school kind of just going through all these classes, and you probably don't have a solid understanding of actually what you actually want to be because you don't actually spend enough time actually thinking about what you want to make a career out of in your life. I just don't believe that most students don't have the time to think about what they actually want to do. Usually they kind of just end up, going to college for whatever their best subject in school was. Now, and I'm not saying this is everyone. There's some people who are 15 and they know what they want to be from the get-go. But I feel like there's far too large of a population of people who end up going to college and they don't have a firm grasp of exactly what they want to do, or they think they want to do this thing, but they don't actually know. But it's too late because they've already taken out $40,000 in loans to go to college, and now they're there, and it's such a big expenditure. The thought of taking a gap year isn't discussed enough because all my friends are going to college, so I have to go too, or else I'll fall behind if I take a gap year. What am I gonna do? And I get the stigma behind a gap year is kind of usually your parents don't want you to just sit around and do nothing and sit around and just think, quote unquote. The most efficient way to do it would be to get a job. But again, getting a job without a college education, it's like unless you're doing something some sort of manual labor, which is fine. There's some places that, have high respect for manual labor and whatnot. And then there's other places, more suburban areas, but they don't see that as like the best path to take.
Okay, and then there's the rest of the university system, which is, I keep saying scam because it really is. What you have to understand about the way that colleges work in the United States is we have been, since 1950, in the process of basically saying to most Americans that the baseline degree in order to hold a job is a college degree. And that is a massive mistake. All that you have done is taken a bunch of jobs that don't require a college degree and now force people to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans and debt in order to get a job that does not require them to go to four-year university.
College-going culture is propped up, very much so. And I don't believe people at the ages of 16, 17, understand the financial implications of college. And then you get out and you're in debt, and you have to pay back your debt. So you have to get a job. Hopefully the job is in the field that you majored in. Maybe, hopefully. It might not be if you took something useless. Gender studies. And then at which point, once they're in, it's already too late, and now you've already accumulated a bunch of debt. So now you have to work. By the way, that's done by design, that they don't educate you on the actual, price of college on purpose. If you go into debt and now you have to get a job, I mean, that's just better for society as a whole, I guess. But I feel like that's something people should know before you go into college, understand how much college actually costs. And when you have that understanding, you can make better decisions. It's tough because in high school, you're kind of also trying to figure out who you are as a person and your character. You're probably like, what do you want? It's hard to also think about, what I want to be, But I do believe that's the most important thing to kind of learn about yourself. You have to learn what do you want to spend the rest of your life doing. But like when you ask most people who are 15, 16, they don't really know. It's understandable to not know at that age, but then to apply to college for thousands of dollars, you're kind of screwing yourself. It's not your fault you didn't know what you want to do, but all your friends went to college, and now you went to college, and like you only figured out what you wanted to do when you're 3 years in, and now you have all this debt, and now you have to get a job, and it's like you can't leave. You have no wiggle room. As hard as it is, I think the most important thing formative years is really kind of figuring out yourself, who you are as a person, what your passions are. I believe those are the most important things to find out, because when you find those things out, you'll more easily be able to figure out what you want to do with your life. And if you somehow are able to figure that out before going into college, whatever you want to do requires going to school and going to college, then you can go to college, and the money will be well worth it because you'll know what you want to do, and you'll be able to excel at it to the best of your ability. It's funny because I would say going to college is still well worth it, right? I was gonna take an example like a music major. I was gonna use like a music major as an example. And like if you love music and you go to college for music and you graduate, and what jobs are available for you after you do that? I mean, you know, you'll probably end up making music for some company, for some company's commercial, which I guess is cool. It's not cool at all. But I get, I assume there's money there. I mean, I assume that's a job that pays a middle class salary. If you're going to a job that isn't like sales or business, I feel like most jobs really do require to see that, they really want to see that college degree, that college background. And then go to college when you kind of, to figure yourself, once you figure yourself out a little more, if you haven't already. So I feel like, I just feel like schools don't talk about that enough. So I'm gonna tell y'all that so y'all don't go into it, not knowing, learn yourself, learn what you want to do in life. You don't get fucked by the system. I feel like a lot of the reasons most people don't really have a firm idea of what they want to do in their lives when they're young is because most of them are too busy watching dumb stuff on TikTok that is incredibly entertaining, but is absolutely mindlessly dumb. I feel like there's a lot of scrolling on TikTok, watching Twitch, which is fun, right? And like I would say the time to do that is when you're young. But the con about that is most people kind of end up just believing that they're gonna like be a streamer. But I will say I feel like more people think they can do it, but they don't do it for the right reasons. I feel like there's this thought that it's just easy money, and being able to garner attention is a very, very big skill that not a lot of people have. But I feel that there's a lot of distractions nowadays, and that doesn't give people an opportunity to think. People don't actually think about what they want to do. They just mindlessly just consume and watch, and they don't think about what I want to do. Usually, they want to be a YouTuber, and then they make 3 video game montages, and they think they're gonna blow up, and they don't kind of understand the hard work that goes into that. That's less about school per se, and more so about kind of the consequences of kind of not thinking about what you want to do in life early on and consistently throughout your younger years. Because I do believe that another I guess this is sort of a criticism, is how school will kind of beat the dreams out of you.
Let's say you're in a school where most people don't go to college. You're in high school. And then last day of school comes. What do people do? They toss their papers in the air as they run down the steps. School's out. No. What's the rock song? School's out for summer. Was it forever?
And
no,
then ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
Then forever.
Ever.
Right?
Yeah.
So that attitude must mean the school didn't train you to embrace curiosity.
Right.
That learning was a chore. And now the chores are over.
Yeah.
So I think the educational system needs an adjustment. Forget whether or not you go to college, because you're going to spend more years not in school than in school, even if you do go to college. What you want, I think, are lifelong learners, lifelong curiosity.
Yeah.
Speaking as an educator, I think a missing component of school is it the teachers? Is it the curriculum? I don't know. But when you get out of school, you should say to yourself, damn, I want to learn more.
When I was like in middle school, we were doing an exercise in one of my classes, right? And we are doing like a language exercise, right? And we had to write down like 3 professions, right? And I guess we had to say it in a different language or whatever. But I think I put down like doctor, basketball player, and some third thing. And I remember my teacher saying, let's put something, let's put something more realistic, right? Damn, like I mean, I know I'm not the tallest person in the world. I'm not that, but like, I find that like, just I feel like that's a very self-limiting thing. And I didn't take it to heart because it was just kind of I was just putting things down on paper. But I feel like there's a trend. I feel like you're very creatively stifled sometimes in school, unless you're a weird ass theater kid. Sorry. Not sorry. Not sorry. Getting people into that 9 to 5 kind of box is very much pushed within within traditional education. And you kind of get it when you realize that we need 9 to 5 people to exist. But the reason I kind of want to talk about that is kind of to let you guys know that, those of you who are still, younger and you're in that school age kind of, 12 to range of 12 to 24, young, adolescent, young adult kind of age group. I don't want to gender the argument, but I find it is specifically amongst like boys. They're very much put in boxes in terms of what they should become when they get older, or they're just not, and they're not given a lot of time to think about what they want, what they should become. I feel like that happens often. If you guys feel that way, let me know down in the comment section. But and then there, it doesn't help that there's a lot of distractions online that keep you from thinking about what you want to do. And now more than ever, there's like more half naked people on the internet than ever before. It's like really bad. Like 2 letters. Like, how do you make an F with your hand? I've seen those 2 letters in places that I shouldn't be seeing them. child-based streaming services or teenage-based streaming services.
Years ago, I made a video about how if you don't like seeing lewd things online, simply close your eyes and walk away. But what happens when you do close your eyes and walk away, but no matter where you walk away to, you bump right back into it? Whether it's on Twitter, TikTok, or even Twitch.
Part of this episode was to get you guys to understand how difficult it is to really focus on what you really want to do with your future. There's a lot of good things you can learn in school, and you can figure out what you want to do if you end up being very good at like a particular subject and you develop a passion towards that subject. You can figure out what you want to do just through going through like classes in high school. That's possible, and there's a lot of interesting things about history and science to be learned within school. But I feel like there's a lot of things that aren't said that you guys should know about. You guys should know about why things occur. That these things occur and that they're always going to happen. And I feel like if you know them, if you're aware of them, you'll have a better understanding of how the world works and why why the educational system functions the way it does. And you'll be better off kind of knowing what barriers and roadblocks that are going to be, in your way as you kind of go throughout your life, your young life, trying to figure out what you want to do. Understand that people are going to kind of shit on your dreams. People are going to shit on your dreams. People are going to put you in a box. People are going to try to get you in that 9-to-5 hole. Somebody shit on your dreams. Somebody shot you down real quick. They needed you to be a pharmacist. There wasn't enough pharmacists, so I guess that's what you're doing now, huh? Well, I guess not. Pharmacists make money, right? So leave you guys with a takeaway on this first real episode. Always remember your dreams. Always remember what you want to do, why you want to do it. That's an important one as well. Hopefully, what you want to do will have a positive impact on others and on society. But yeah, I'd say the takeaway is, understand kind of, why some of the things that occur in the traditional education system, why do they occur? Understand that. I feel like if you know these little things, you'll just be better equipped to help you guys see through some of the BS. I'm not anti-education, but there is some things that by design you're not told. And the point isn't, you don't have to go in and be like, oh, I know how these things work. I know why you're doing this. No, it's not, don't do that. But, know it for yourself. Just continue to chase or find your dreams, find your passions. And if you don't know what you want to do, think about that, because that'll be very important for you, living a fulfilling life. So I want to, I think we'll leave off that. Hopefully that a lot of that made sense. So thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. We're gonna do this. Hopefully I can get something else planned within the next week from whenever you're seeing this. We'll get another one up and we can get the ball rolling a little bit. I took a little bit of time, not as much time as I did before, but anyway, I'm KepherdY2K and I'll see y'all in the next podcast. Peace.
This is a finite life. It doesn't last that long. It's a trick. You get sucked into this trick, and this trick is what every CEO and every head of every corporation, every chief financial officer, all these people that are just trying to improve the bottom line, rake in more money, keep this company growing and keep kicking ass. It's a trick. You're sucked up in a trick. There's a natural human tendency to accumulate numbers for whatever reason. Go back to our early days when resources were scarce. And if you get sucked into that trick, one day you're going to wake up, and that's going to usually be too late. Usually it's on your deathbed. Usually it's close to it. You're like, what did I do? This is it? My health is failing. My life's falling apart. And what has my life been? It's been 10, 12, 14 hours a day in these stuffed offices under fluorescent lights, crunching numbers. And for what?